I'm going to try to admit the board first. Can you all make sure you can unmute yourselves? Board members?
Yep.
I can.
I can.
Thank you.
I can hear you.
Thank you.
I can hear you.
Thank you. Okay, we have about 90 people I'm going to let in all at once. So it may take me a minute to mute them, okay?
Okay, thank you. Okay, are we ready? I believe all the members are online. So I'll call the meeting to order. Heather, do you have the flag put up?
Mary, you need to allow me to share my screen, please.
When am I dialing? Said dial in or.
Heather, you should be able to share.
Okay.
Okay, so the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
One
under God,
one
indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
for all. Okay. You got a couple more screens, Heather?
Sure. So, because this is a little bit challenging, public comments. I'm sorry, I need to. Public comments can be made by typing your name in the chat box. The meeting host will unmute you and you will have 2 minutes in which to make your remarks. Please state your name prior to beginning your comments. There are 2 opportunities during the meeting for public comment. The first is at the beginning of the meeting. This time is provided for, comment regarding any item on the agenda. The second opportunity is at the end of the agenda, and that time is for commenting on any matter not on the agenda. We're sad that we cannot meet in person. This format presents several challenges for all of us. We ask for civil and productive comments, and we ask all speakers to respect the 2-minute time limit. Please limit your request to speak to 1. Finally, in the event that this meeting is disrupted in any way by Zoom bombing, it will end immediately and will be considered adjourned.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'd like to have the minutes reflect that we held an executive session on Tuesday evening for personnel issues. And we held an executive session tonight prior to the meeting for personnel issues. Okay, having said that, are there any comments, any public comments? This is the time where you type your name in the chat box. So is there any comments on items on the agenda?
Chat box is open.
Mary Jean, are we getting any comments?
There's no comment, no.
Okay. Move on. The enrollments are in your packet on pages 6 to 8. Then on to item 5, approval of minutes. Meetings
To approve.
A, B, and C.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Bill.
Second.
Thank you, Bill. We have a motion in a second. Any discussion by the board? Okay, Carolyn, are you able to do a roll call? I guess she's not able to do that. I will
I don't
call.
think she realizes she's muted.
*6.
I did try to unmute her. She needs to unmute herself now. Carolyn, you can unmute.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay,
Okay.
Oh, they can't hear me.
Yes, no.
Yes.
We
you're
can
good.
hear you.
We can hear you. You're good.
They're doing a roll call without me. Oh,
She must not be able to hear us now.
Okay.
why can't I hear them now, though? Oh, I'm getting muted.
All right. Phil, do you want me to do the call of names?
sure, that's fine.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, all right, then I'm good.
Okay.
Mrs. Arnold? Why can't I
She's
hear them?
muted.
Holly, you're muted.
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Gregory?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Dr. Pravola?
Yes.
Mr. Swilly?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes. Okay. Item 6, business and finance reports. We have items 1 through 6.
I should be-
Motion to approve.
I'm just unmuted, right?
Okay, we had a motion. You have a second?
Count Rob.
Second.
I'm sorry, did I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion by the board? Okay. Carolyn, can you do a roll call, please?
Mrs. Bennett? Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Dr. Perbola,
Yes.
Mr. Swilly,
Yes.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Widener,
Yes.
Mr. Farr.
Yes. Okay, next we have the superintendent's report.
I'm asking for a motion to approve items 1, 3, 4, and 6 under the regular agenda, and items 1, 2, and 3 on the supplemental agenda.
Motion approved.
Second.
There a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, we'll go with the roll call.
Mrs. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Dr. Perbola,
Yes.
Mr. Swilly,
Yes.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold,
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Widener,
Yes.
Mr. Farr.
Yes. Okay, and the other items are being tabled?
Yes. Well, item 2 on the agenda was really covered by 1 and 2 on the supplemental. Those are the
Yep,
same
okay,
positions.
thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, we're tabling item 5 on the regular agenda and item 6 on the supplemental.
Item 4 and supplement, I believe. And item.
4, I'm sorry, yeah, 4.
It's okay.
I put an X over the number.
I don't believe there were any committee met. I don't think.
I don't
I'm wrong.
think so.
Okay. Under unfinished business, we have discussion of the current COVID situation, its impact on school operations.
So I do have an update for you, and I need to share my screen. Back to this PowerPoint. So as of today, I can give you this update as far as numbers are concerned. I'll be pretty brief. Wyoming County case count was at 628. There are 131 associated with long-term care facilities. I called Gene and their free testing, Gene Ziak at the Emergency Management Agency. They had free testing there over the weekend. They did 1,003 tests. The current cases we're tracking, now this is not like all the cases there are, but the ones that are in that 14-day period, there are 4 at the high school, there are 5 at the intermediate center, 1 at STEM, 0 at primary right now, and there's 2 staff members that we are also tracking. So the November total that we had when we're tracking was 10, and the December total to date up to the 17th is 14. I apologize. This is total case number. So the cases for December have been 14 through the 17th, and the whole month of November we had 10 cases. So I did this based on some of the questions that I was getting from you as board members, as far as how many kids are actually out quarantining because they have a family member. These numbers fluctuate. So this data is actually as of Monday. So we had 11 kids that were out on quarantine that we know of at the primary center, 15 at the intermediate, 7 at the STEM Academy, 25 at the high school, give or take. But the kids that basically have decided, I don't really feel that I want to come back to school, so they're still on hybrid, but they're working remotely, those numbers are going up. We've had more requests even this week. So these were the numbers on Monday. We had about 19 kids at the intermediate that were just staying home. They were still working remotely on the hybrid program. They were not attending daily. So 5 at the STEM Academy, 57 at the high school. But again, this number has gone up since then. So this is where we got into trouble and we had to close the IC. So just so I can provide you with a little bit of perspective, these were the teacher absences by building on the 14th of December. And you can see that 10 teachers were out due to quarantining, and then there were other absences. Oh, and this may have been a sick child or other reasons, or appointments or whatever. But this becomes very difficult to manage when you have 9 teachers that are out of a building. So we are currently covering absentee. When we can't cover it with a sub, we're using admin periods and preps. We're using our administrators, our counselors, our paras in some cases to go in and not do instruction, but to be there with kids. At the high school alone on the 14th of December, we spent $600 extra just pulling and covering preps. This is kind of how we do it at the IC. So you can see here's a teacher that is out, and these are all the teachers that are covering. It's sort of a checkerboard thing. And so the problem with this is then what happens is if we have a case in one of these classrooms, you can see how many teachers we have to check back with and we have to contact trace. So it becomes really difficult. And this is an example from the primary center when we have multiple teachers out. It is not an easy thing. It's not just like putting somebody into a classroom. Our support staff absences on the same day. That afternoon that I had presented this and put this together, we directed an additional 4 support staff to quarantine beginning on Wednesday. So these numbers become hard to manage as well. The board had asked me about Fusion C3 enrollments since the end of November. I'm sorry, these are enrollments in Cyber Charter School, not Fusion C3. So there were 44 new enrollments in Fusion C3 since the end of November. So but so this is the enrollment as of Monday in Fusion C3. This is the enrollment in our brick and mortar. And then in other cyber, last year we had 4 primary age students in other cyber schools. This year we have 14. Last year, 18 in intermediate and 27. So you can see these numbers have gone up significantly. But here's what you have to understand. So the cyber enrollment last year, now these are other cyber charter schools like Agora or PA Virtual, was 78. And this year it's 119. Now the delta, the change in that is 41. But what you need to understand is out of this number, 119, 47 of these kids have never attended Tunkhannock. So in other words, they moved here, they were already attending a cyber charter school, or they were attending a school that has shut down. And so they really haven't given us a chance. They have pretty much stayed put in their cyber charter, or decided that if the private school they were going to was going to go virtual, why should they pay private school tuition? And so they just enrolled their child in an outside cyber charter. So I've updated this on our full 14-day. This day here has dropped off, as is this day. So 1 student at the IC and 1 student at the high school have dropped off the list that we need to monitor. And so this is just how it looks right now. And these are the totals of what I gave you there at the beginning of how many we were tracking, minus this kid and minus this kid. Our recent changes in our neighboring districts, Abington Middle School and Elementary are virtual now. Dallas is virtual until January 12th. Elk Lake is full in. Trail is going out to go out virtual until January 12th, following the Christmas break. It was my understanding last week that Trail, I believe, had one of the schools closed, the elementary school, I believe. Lehman is still in, Wyalusing is going virtual from the 17th to January 4th. And then these are the other schools in our area that are fully virtual right now. So when we're looking at the effects of the Thanksgiving break, we saw 5 new cases in the first week following Thanksgiving. And the second week following Thanksgiving, we recorded 9 cases. And we had to close a building for 3 days, the IC. So this is the calendar, and my recommendation would be that we consider going out virtual for 13 days. That gets us to 2 weeks beyond the New Year's holiday, and a full 2 weeks. And that would be my recommendation, but obviously you guys can talk about, doing what some of the other schools are doing and coming back on the 12th. That is entirely up to you, but this would be my recommendation.
Heather, I have a question. Approximately how much are we paying out to pull teachers from their prep periods or their lunches or whatever? What's the cost ticket to that?
Well, Monday it was $600. So they pulled 12 preps.
Okay, thanks.
Well, from what you've educated us about, it sounds as if it's obviously COVID is an issue, but the staffing is another issue. At least from what we had spoken about to the community was we want to make sure that any in-person learning is obviously the best that we can provide. I believe we all understand virtual is a necessary evil in this COVID. As you can see, Heather, and you gave you answered a lot of questions that I sent you. There's a lot of schools that are virtual. I would agree that over these next couple of weeks, I think it'd be in our community's best interest if we go virtual. I think you presented numbers too about cases in school after the Thanksgiving holiday. I think we're going to be beating ourselves in our heads coming back or trying to go in person right off the bat after the holiday. I would think that next week we'll go virtual for that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the week after the January 1st holiday. So would it be the 11th? I think on that calendar that you showed, that's something that I think might be in the community, the kids, the staffs, everybody's best interest. We can go virtual, maybe work on some programs that you have taken your administrators and some of the other teachers and work on improving some of the virtual platforms that we have. I will tell you from a medical perspective, I know last week there were 50 to 55 cases in the general hospital. Today, I think it's down to 43 or 44. So obviously in the community, the COVIDs are going up. And the last thing I'll say, Heather, and I caught this on your presentation, it's not the nursing home cases that are going up like it was, I think, early on. As you presented the data, I think there was 103 nursing home cases out of the 638 total Wyoming County cases. So I think that's at least enough proof in the data set that this COVID is out in the community more so than it is in the institutions.
Any other board members want to have a comment on the presentation?
I agree completely. I think this is what we have to do.
Yeah, I agree. One thing to add, I still feel confident that what we're doing, if we could staff the buildings, is keeping our kids safe. So the cases that I'm aware of mostly are being picked up in the community. But the issue we have is we can't successfully run schools because of the disruption that we have right now. So I'm not backtracking on what I said the last couple of board meetings about having confidence with the distancing, the masking, the way the education is set up with small numbers in schools. It's just really, we can't effectively run it, and we're not missing that many in-person days anyway. So I'm in favor of what Bill had suggested. We stay out and go virtual until the 11th.
I don't mind going along with it. I agree with it. However, there has got to be more Zoom meetings and online teaching happening for our kids to benefit. We need to benefit our students and not push them backwards. And it's an absolute must. My IC student, I can tell you from a personal point, is she has Zoom meetings 3-4 times a week. But my high school kids have 0. And we need to really get these in-person Zoom meetings or some kind of lessons for our kids to continue to be successful. That's my 2 cents.
Lori, are you seeing anybody do recorded lessons?
Some of them are coming through recorded, providing that there's no breakups in the recordings. And I just think those kids need that live interaction. And I would like to see that worked on. Is Todd on? I don't even know if he's on.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
It wouldn't be bad to have a Zoom session for those kids who have questions and need some clarification on something.
Yeah, Bill, Todd and I spoke this morning and shared a couple ideas that we're going to work on this next week.
Okay.
That was one of them.
Okay, thank you.
I think the interaction with the teachers is very important.
Well, from a personal standpoint, I agree with Lori. When Matt zooms in and asks, my son Matt zooms in and asks his questions, that is so helpful. And I'll just give a big shout out there to the chemistry teacher, Miss Sherman. Matt is excited to participate as opposed to just sitting and looking at the computer. So I echo what is said with the interaction. I think that's fantastic.
Do we need a motion on this? If so,
Yes.
I'll make it.
And I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion from the board?
So the motion is,
Go ahead, Bill.
no, I guess the specific motion though was
The 11th? Come back on the 11th?
virtual
Come
until
back on.
then.
Yes.
Okay. Does everybody understand that? Virtual until the 11th? Come back on the 11th. Holly, you had a
Yes.
question or comment?
Of course I have comments. That comes as no surprise to anyone. A couple things I just wanted to put on the public record. I'm not opposed to this plan, but to echo a couple things other people said and to just kind of bring out some other ideas to light, I don't think anybody should take this as a lack or a change in the commitment of the school board to look at data, look at what we're doing, and know that in-person education is what's best for our kids. And in doing this, nobody in the board that I'm aware of that I've heard talking is saying that they think that this is the right thing to do for a safety perspective. It's for a logistical perspective at this point because of staffing. I had run a couple numbers just for the heck of it. And if you were to say that the population of the Tunkhannock School District, as far as students and staff go, I was trying to just throw together rough numbers. I'd put 2,500. We've had 24 cases in the last 2 months. That's about 1% of our kids and staff that have been confirmed to have COVID. In Wyoming County, that number is 2.3%. In Pennsylvania, it's 4.1%. And in the United States, it's 5.4%, those numbers right now. So the Tunkhannock School District is certainly not contributing to a community spread. It is not an unsafe place for our children to be or our staff. That being said, I think that Lori brought up a good point as well. That's an issue that I'm concerned about, in that we have talked for the last, 5 to 10 years about how cyber charters do not offer to our students what we can offer in a classroom. So I think it's disingenuous for anyone to sit here, and I'm not saying anyone on the board is, but it's disingenuous to sit here and say that we can do in cyber or in C3 or in any other type of program like that, what we can do in a classroom. And if we can safely do it in a classroom, then that's where we should be. So just reiterating the fact that there's no one on the board that I've heard say has changed their commitment to in-school education, live education, following the state guidelines. I can be okay with coming back on the 11th. But what I don't want to happen is that the week before, we need to have a plan for the staffing issue. We need to do what we can to bring that around, because I didn't sign my kids up for a correspondence course from the back of a magazine. And there have been a lot of teachers that are really great, but there hasn't been a lot of live instruction on these times that we are virtual. And there hasn't been a lot of one-to-one. We have a couple teachers that haven't returned emails in over a week. So, I mean, there's got to be some give and take, and we have to work together to make, if there's going to be the belief that the cyber program can be effective. That's what I've got.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Well,
Anyone else on the board? Oh, yeah, I think your comments would be echoed by the board members that I know. Okay.
absolutely.
No more discussion. Carolyn, can we do a roll call?
Sure. Mr. Perry? Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Swilly?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Gregory?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes. Okay, we'll move on. The new business, the Visa account is in your packet. As well as the Kelly Services substitute teacher fill rate. I see we have an item for discussion of second semester school calendar. Heather, can you fill us in on that?
Yeah, we've been doing these half-day virtual Fridays. And there are two options here. One would be to do the virtual Friday K-12 instead of just 7 through 12, which would give our teachers time to load content and to develop some of these interactive classes that they're doing a good job and they're learning. I sat in on one the other day in first grade and it was excellent. But they need time, and this is a big learning curve, and they need to teach each other so that it's not just a small group of people that are carrying all the weight. So this is a discussion about either doing the virtual Fridays for K-6 or continuing to do the virtual half or continuing to dismiss early on Friday. So teachers have time.
And so when would you want to begin this?
After we come back after the 11th.
Heather, I have a comment about that.
Okay.
I spoke to you about this already. I love the idea of the half days, but what we all need to realize is we have some teachers doing 2 to 3 different jobs when they are normally just in a classroom. So I think we really need to take into consideration that we may want to go to a 4-day week for K-6, or K-7. I'm not, whatever, however you want to do it. I just think our teachers that are pulling 2 to 3 different online, a special education caseload and a regular education caseload, I think it really bogs them down, and I think they really need that day. Just my 2 cents in my opinion.
I also have a comment that goes along from the other standpoint of the student. And I think the virtual Friday would be a good perspective for students as well, because then they would practice every Friday and stay in the virtual learning and up on the canvas and everything as well. Plus it gives the teachers time to do what they need to do.
So do folks want to go with a half day on Friday, or are they talking about a full day off?
I think we should go full day.
Full day.
That's my opinion.
Okay. Any other comments?
Heather,
by
what
the board member?
And what
Wait,
was-
Shayna, can you repeat that? A full day for what?
I think we should go a full day.
Virtual?
That was,
A full day
Virtual on
virtual
Friday.
one? Yep, okay.
yes.
Heather, what
So
was
that-
your recommendation? Heather?
I would recommend a full day, but if you are unwilling to feel like that's going to be a burden to parents, then at least a half day. Our parents have been managing the half days. And I really haven't had any complaints. But our teachers could use a full day.
That's not out of line with what some of our surrounding neighboring districts are doing, because my nephew's at Elk Lake and they're off on Wednesdays. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Most
They're
of the
not off.
districts,
I mean, they're not off. They're doing.
Right.
They're
they're virtual.
They're
Virtual.
virtual. Okay, so I think people have been saying we're giving them off, and I want to be
No.
clear, it's not off. It's to get work done outside the in-person classroom.
right.
And it's
And-
also the expectation, right, that even during these times that we're going virtual for a week or whatever, the teachers, unless there's an exception for some reason, the teachers are still reporting to their classrooms.
Yes, there will be some exceptions, and I'll be communicating with teachers tomorrow.
Anyone else on the board? Okay, do we have a motion to do a full day virtual on Fridays?
I will make that motion.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Carolyn, can you do a roll call, please?
Dr. Pavola,
Yes.
Mr. Swilly,
Yes.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold,
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett,
Yes.
Mrs. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
No.
Mr. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Farr.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item three is to approve volunteers. Item 4 is for extra pay appointments as presented. Do we want to do those two together?
Sure, I'll
Motion
make
to
the motion.
approve.
Okay, I believe we have a motion and a second.
What is that for? 3 and 4?
I think you're on the wrong part.
Yeah.
Oh. You're right, I am. I'm sorry. Okay, item 4 is a bus and van contract. The motion to approve that,
Motion to
Motion to
approve.
approve.
and we have, was that a second in there?
Sure.
Okay. Discussion? Roll call, Carolyn?
Mr. Swilly,
Yes.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold,
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett,
Abstain.
Mrs. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Dr. Pavola,
Yes.
Mr. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Farr.
Yes, thank you. Item 5 is to approve payment to Postler and Jekyll Corporation for work done on air handlers at the admin center, admin gym.
Phil, can we do all these 5 through 10 together? Is there any reason to break them up?
Motion approved 5 through 10.
Second.
We will do that.
Thank you, Phil.
We have a second?
Sure.
Yeah, you had one.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold,
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett,
Yes.
Mrs. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Dr. Pavola,
Yes.
Mr. Swilly,
Yes.
Mr. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Farr.
Yes. Okay, that's the last of the items on the agenda. Are there any public comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
So now that we are going to be closed for live instruction, in-person instruction, sorry, is there going to be something communicated to parents at the beginning of next week to pick up anything that they need to from the buildings?
Yeah, we'll have the buildings opened up, including the IC next week. It's been closed for 3 days. And we will work out some sort of distribution. That was a question that came up. And, from a board member. And yeah, we'll make sure they have all their stuff, anything that they need, any books or materials. So we'll be communicating that out. I will be communicating this whole plan out tomorrow to both the teachers and the parents.
Thank you. Are there any other comments by board members or the public?
There are people.
Motion adjourned.
I think is there somebody in the chat room?
There's several people in the chat room. Randa Halleck.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Randa.
Hi, I just wanted to say the first quarter my son did the C3 cyber, and it was really hard for him. There wasn't a lot of Zooms. But we had that 2-week break where the whole school had to go cyber, and I just wanted to tell the teachers how thankful I were. His teachers that were teaching him in person the second quarter when he went back, there was Zooms all day long. I was really impressed with how they handled it, considering they had come from teaching in person to have to try to learn this online program, and I think they did a fantastic job. And that's all I wanted to say. What's that?
Which building is your son in?
The IC, 4th grade.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Nolan Robinson.
Yes, thank you. First, I would like to thank the board for the tough decisions they have to make. I do realize it's not easy. And with that, I did prepare something that I wrote out just so I can kind of sort my thoughts a little bit, and it should be under 2 minutes, so hopefully all is well. Many people spoke at the last board meeting, and I agree with many of the speakers on various topics, especially in regards to our students' well-being. With that said, please allow me to touch on this topic from the other perspective, which some of this is redundant, I do know now, but I'll still read. Our students need some sense of normalcy, and on both sides of the table, we agree on this. However, what we once thought was normal isn't the new norm. School isn't anything like when we were kids. Life isn't either. Our students are evolving, adapting, and they're amazingly resilient. Virtual learning, for example, isn't something new in this world. It's been around for decades. In a way, it's one of the blessings in disguise from this pandemic. Think about how exceptional TASD will be after a year of online learning. It's rigorous and new, but again, our students are showing success in many ways. It's too often we hear about the failures, not the successes. Tunkhannock area is creating and delivering some amazing technological advancements, and in the end, it will get easier and easier. The biggest wish is to have live teaching streamed, and I'm sure this is what could be in the works, but be careful what we wish for. Many schools in the area are trying this platform, but experience their struggles with it also. So many technical schools and colleges offer the very same platform we are actually utilizing. As adults, we need to stop complaining with our pessimism and continue to challenge our students in this new way of learning. As a teacher, I'm tired of hearing, I wasn't good at this or that, and so I understand why my child isn't also. Our children are listening. This isn't the time to deny, refuse, complain. It's a time to encourage, support, and challenge. I am beyond proud of my students online, even the ones struggling. The ones that put forth effort and stay positive are beyond successful. One grandmother, for example, raising her several children at home, told me, if you want something done a certain way, my children will do it. This resonates a sense of admiration, and the work her granddaughter gives is beyond exceptional and has become easier and easier because she has given a challenge and has worked hard. This is what is most important for our students, effort. Now on to the big topic, what do we do? Well, sports are shut down until after the new year. And while many spoke out about its importance, more so than academics, it is off the table for consideration for now. So now that the primary objective that many on the board put above well-being and safety, I'd like to hope that you will consider the facts. This is a pandemic. Our students need us to make the decisions that's best for them right now, so they can excel in the future. Students have beyond more outlets than we did as children. They have social media, FaceTime, Zoom, texting, unlimited calling, way more advanced than anything we had. Let's step up as adults together and not make any more excuses. They have it pretty good with technology. I feel and think many would agree that there's nothing more important than family, keeping family close, safe, and healthy. If we're willing as a district to give us normal snow day, so we can all as a community have some true family time and normalcy, shut the district down now, which you guys have done, and I applaud you. This way, some might have a chance to quarantine as we socially distance and visit our family members with masks and some common sense. Numbers are rising. The educators deserve some consideration along with parents, grandparents, relatives, and siblings. There's not one teacher that misses the normalcy, but remember, this is a new world we're living in. I will not selfishly say I need my students, but instead say whatever is in their best interest, safety, and the safety of their families. Anything else is selfish. There's no question the board is a majority conservative. This is a fact, but we can still accept and adapt and err on the side of caution for the best interest of our children, our community, and Tunkhannock. Shut us down and at least until after the new year, which you have done, and I thank you. For those who put sports above academics, if you want somewhat of a season, especially a spring season, shut it down for an opportunity to lower numbers, await a vaccine, and adapt. The positive in the end is more time with family. Family is at the core. Friendships come and go, but family is forever. Be positive, embrace the time with our children. And the last thing I'll say is for our online platform to be compared to the backside of a magazine is absolutely disrespectful to the teachers, the educators, and the people within our community. There's a lot of time and effort and amazing information that's put out there. Thank you.
The next one is Becky Mickey.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, okay. First, I just want to thank everybody for the communication that we've been given as parents. It's really helpful, and I think our school district has done more than others, and I just want to say thank you for that. Additionally, I wanted to comment, there's been a few comments about live instruction, and on the team that I manage today, I have multiple school districts that are being covered, and so I'm seeing what other schools are doing, different age groups. My son is enrolled at the primary. There's definitely a balance to be had, and I just wanted to make that comment. There's absolutely something that should be considered here, which is Zoom fatigue. And it's hard to balance if your students, there are some school districts that are live basically all day. And if you're a parent trying to manage that and work from home or work somewhere not at home and have to get childcare, it adds more to it. So there's a balance. I think live is necessary. But I just want to caution us from having our kids on video and our teachers on video all day. It's exhausting. So thank you for your communication, and I look forward to seeing what we come up with.
Thanks, Becky. Thanks for the input, and I will concur. The most tired that I have ever been is when I spend 8 or 9 hours behind this screen, and you're just exhausted. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I hope your kids turned it off today and made a snowman.
They were outside. I was on Zoom, so thank
you. Good.
I just want to toss in there, I think as a clarification, I don't think anybody on the board is talking about a scenario in which kids and teachers are sitting on video all day long. You know, we're talking about like each class doing once or twice a week type of thing. At least that's what I think of when I hear what we're talking about. Some teachers are doing that already here and there, but yeah, there are a lot who are not, and that there's room for improvement for that. And there's no harm in pointing out where we can have an opportunity area, and that is one of them.
Yep. We can always get better.
Thank you, Becky.
Okay, I believe the last one that we have is actually a question of how long will the virtual Fridays continue?
I think that the motion was to do them for
second semester, right?
Well, yeah, but there would be a little bit in the first semester, because if we come back on the 11th, I think the second semester doesn't start until like January 27th. Okay. So immediately after we return.
And that would be for the remainder of the year?
Yes. I think that was the motion. I'm sorry. I don't mean to
Yes,
put words in your mouth.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
it was.
Okay.
Everything's cyber on Fridays. What are they gonna do with us?
Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a comment if I may.
Sure.
I think I think that Holly brought up a great point. I think Lori brought up a great point with the Friday issues. And I think the way I think we're providing this for Heather so she can get a lot of different work done with these teachers, and the teachers can get the work done. And I think I want to be clear that, and I know this was used before, it was a day off, but it's not. It's a working day, so the public knows that it's for planning and preparation and everything that I think Heather you mentioned. And I guess I wasn't sure if the community's clear on that. Okay. The second point is that I think there were comments tonight, and I want to be the person to say that I think extracurriculars and athletics are extremely important in public schools. I think there was a comment tonight from Mr. Robinson that some people on the board put athletics above academics, and that's not the case. But I believe, and I firmly believe, and I'm involved in extracurriculars, that it's extremely important because it also teaches our kids how to work hard, discipline, set goals, accomplish, and also failure. So I believe that extracurriculars and athletics are completely pure in the sense that it helps kids become young adults, to become adults, and to learn life's lessons. So I think it's extremely important as part of public school. And I just want to make sure that the community is aware of that. And I think most of the board, if not all the board, feels the same way. And one last thing, we are following the PIAA guidelines as of right now. I know we're talking about virtual, and I believe there's also a Wyoming Valley Conference athletic director meeting, and I think there's going to get some more clarification. But I think that has to be mentioned, that we're following the state guidelines, the PIAA guidelines, and we're not putting anyone at risk. And I think all the athletics and extracurricular programs have functioned very well since we instituted everything since the fall seasons. And I do believe that there's going to be challenges. There's no doubt about it. So I just wanted to echo those or make those comments.
Yeah, and I would say that I know my kids did better when they're participating in extracurriculars than they did in the wintertime. Typically, they did not. In the wintertime, they had a tougher academic period than they did in the fall and the spring when they're in extracurriculars. So the sports, that definitely, I believe, my own experience, helps them academically.
That is what the research shows. It is what the research shows. And they have to, because if their grades drop, they can't participate.
Right.
Well, and of course, let's not also forget that there's more to extracurriculars than sports, and that, when the extracurricular committee is meeting and they're talking about what the sports schedules are going to be and whether we're allowing that means we're also allowing other things after school. So, I know that there's a tendency to look at that as just being sports, but it certainly isn't. The other thing I just wanted to add on real quick was the fact that what was said about Fridays not being a day off for the teachers. So I think that there's something important to consider there, where especially with the teachers that are live with kids in class almost all day long, we're asking them to provide more, to do more, to give more to the kids. We're all asking that as a board, we're asking that as an administration, but it's not fair or reasonable to expect that they're going to give more when there's only X number of hours in a day. And while I realize, and I've had this conversation with other people, that there are few jobs out there right now that did not become more difficult, or at least more complicated or complex in the day of COVID. But we've all had to make adjustments, and our teachers, even if they get this Friday for virtual, that doesn't mean that they're now going to have all this extra time. This means that there are things that are going to be able to maybe happen now that we haven't been able to even try to do because there wasn't time to work on it. So I kind of wanted to bridge that gap between, people who might not understand some of the rationale there.
Thank you, Holly. Mary Jean, do we have anyone else in the chat room?
one moment. I have one person who is asking questions in the chat room, but I'm not sure if she actually wants to make a comment. Let me check.
Thank you.
While she's checking that, just a thank you to our administration for working through all these issues from a staffing perspective. And thank you to our teaching staff and our paras for covering classes as best we can, because we did pretty well. We made it for a good period of time, doing with the live instruction as long as we have. I'm looking forward to getting that back after the new year. But thank you again to our staff. And as Holly said, we have people learning and doing different things that they've never done before. So looking forward to the continued education of our kids going forward here.
Thank you, John.
So Noah
Motion.
Robinson would like to make another comment. I did let him know it's one person for 2 minutes. I don't know if you wish for him to speak or if you want to hold to the one person for 2 minutes.
I think once is enough.
Agreed.
Okay. If there's nobody else, do you have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Wait, I have a question.
Sure.
Where does this, being off till January 11th, where does this put our Elk Lake VOTEC students?
Lori, we will work something out with them. I don't know. I don't know I don't have an answer for how we'll do that, but Todd and I will discuss it tomorrow.
I would, if possible, would like it to, so that they can come to the school, get a bus and continue.
It will
if
only,
possible.
yeah, it really affects like 8 days of instruction. So, and we'll figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we had a motion to adjourn. So thank you, everyone.
Phil, when's our next meeting?
Next meeting will be in January,
Okay.
and it's the 14th of January, Bill.
Okay.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you,
Merry
Howard.
Christmas.
Bye-bye.